Hey guys, what is going on here? Back here with another film review, and this is probably an anticipated film review. You were probably wanting from me for like a while now, and I know I should have had this review up like 4 Saturdays ago in like spring break, and I do apologize. It's just because of storage stuff, and that's why I wasn't able to upload the video. But I'm just out of breath right now, and I have a very special guest here who is going to review the first Spider-Man movie with me. Do you have anything to say?
I just want to say, welcome back, true believers and spectacular Spidey fans, to a really awesome collaboration video that I am lucky enough to be a part of with the one and only No Punisher.
Yes, we are gonna do the review on the first Spider-Man movie like ever. And before we start the review, I apologize for not having this uploaded just because of storage. That's why I wasn't able to upload the review, so that's why we're redoing it, and hopefully we'll make it better and a lot more shorter. So I hope you guys do enjoy. And I think it's safe enough to talk about spoilers, right? Since pretty much everyone's seen them film.
Yep.
So, let's start with the beginning of the movie. Now, let's talk about the origin story with Spider-Man. What are your thoughts on how Sony told Spider-Man's origin story in this movie? I'd like to hear your opinion first.
Well, for those of you who are watching and listening to this, you should know that my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time is this one right here. The first ever Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, all the way back in 2002. From the action, from the acting performances, from the storytelling, and just from the way that they executed these incredible storylines in this movie with such passion and such elegance, really makes it hit home for me, and that's why it's my favorite. And also, I saw this when I was 4 years old, so that also makes it have a very special place in my heart.
So, you think the origin story is pretty good for Spider-Man?
This origin story in particular is my favorite origin story for Spider-Man of all time. I know that's hard to say, Spidey Squad, but the old school comic books are very great and very, very nostalgic, of course, but I believe the 2002 movie did a great job of taking those comics, interpreting them into a modern audience at the time of the year of 2002, and incorporating the nerdy aspects of Peter Parker with kind of the more modern day inquiries that they inputted within the features of Peter, specifically with the organic web shooters. So if you know, in the comics, Peter makes his web shooters by hand. He makes a device to shoot out web, to showcase how smart he is. But in the Sam Raimi movies, it was instead of having him make it, he actually just had it as another power that the spider gave him when it hit Peter's hand, which I do love. It's really hard for me to choose between the organic and the mechanical web shooters, but I still do love the organic web shooters nonetheless.
And also, I do apologize if you keep hearing that noise. It's just Evan's notification, so just don't worry about that, guys. And I do apologize.
Sorry, Spidey Squad. I have a lot of notifications from a lot of people.
Yeah, and yeah, and here's my thoughts on the origin story for Spider-Man. I think it is pretty darn good because this movie is actually how I got fully introduced to who Spider-Man is, because I actually already heard of Spider-Man before I saw this movie, because I had like these coloring books of Spider-Man and these sticker books of him because I loved him so much ever since I saw him, because I became so obsessed with this character. In fact, this is actually my favorite superhero of all time. Same here with my good friend Evan here. True fact.
Agreed. Yes, this was my very first introduction to the character of Spider-Man from this movie, and at the time as a 4-year-old, it just blew my mind out of the water.
Yes, and I think they did a really good idea. I almost said good idea for a second, but I think they did a really good job with the origin story in this movie because I can really tell, just in my opinion, I can tell that Sony really cared about putting out a Spider-Man movie because ever since they got the film rights to Spider-Man in 2000, they wanted to put a Spider-Man movie out there immediately because of how such a popular character he is, and I really loved the way they told his origin story in the film. And this movie is in fact one of my favorite superhero origin story films of all time because they did a really good job with the origin story in this movie. And
Agreed.
in case you guys are wondering, would I prefer organic webbing or web shooters? And when I watched this movie for the first time, I actually thought Spider-Man had organic web shooters, like in the comics. And then when I watched Spectacular, what was it? Spectacular Spider-Man. That's when I think it was either Spectacular Spider-Man, because I watched that show around the time it was airing, and that show was actually how I got introduced to web shooters because I was like, wait a second, he's using that to shoot. Oh wait, no, it wasn't Spectacular Spider-Man. My bad, guys. It was Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends because that is actually technically the first ever Spider-Man cartoon I ever watched, and I was like, wait, that's. What is that? I mean, he already has webs. He could just shoot them from his wrists.
Exactly.
My mind was like blown on how he doesn't have organic webbing in the comics. I was like, what? Why did they have him not have web shooters if he didn't had organic webbing in the comics? And also, I really like the idea of organic web shooters. In fact, that idea was actually from James Cameron, who was actually supposed to make the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
And they were able to get some of his ideas in the film, and that's what made this film really good. And I really like the organic webbing. And I guess you guys can complain that since he has organic webbing, it kind of takes away the whole nerd and science with Peter. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because of how Stanley wanted to show how smart Peter Parker is. And then when they showed that to be in the movie, it was kind of hard at the time to actually try and do that maneuver. So Sam Raimi and some of the producers of the movie decided to make it so that he had organic weapons, which I actually do like. I don't know if I prefer the mechanical shooters over the organic shooters, but I still like it nonetheless. And
Same. Oh, sorry.
enough, when the Amazing Spider-Man movie came out with Andrew Garfield, that's when we first got web shooters in the Spider-Man movie, because that's when he actually was able to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we've about wrapped up the origin story, so why don't we go ahead and talk about the hero story, and then we'll get to the love interest, and then the villain story, and then we'll get to some of the other characters like Harry Osborn and that stuff. But let's talk about the hero story first. I'd like to hear your opinion on it first.
The hero story of Spider-Man 1 in 2002 is, in my opinion, the greatest origin story of any comic book character in a movie of all time.
Or any... Oh, sorry, my bad.
Or game. What'd you say? No Punisher?
I said my bad because I was interrupting you for a second. I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Well, anyways, I was just saying that the origin story for Spider-Man 1 is my favorite origin story in any superhero movie of all time because of ranging from Peter, who they cast as Peter, Tobey Maguire, and also the actor who played Uncle Ben, as well as Rosemary Harris, who played Aunt May. and just seeing how Peter dealt with his high school life, being bullied, not really having a lot of friends other than Harry Osborn, and also not really being able to talk to his crush of Mary Jane, then being able to do all these crazy powers when he got bit by the spider, go to wrestling, and then sadly, he learns the lesson with great power comes great responsibility after his uncle dies
Yes.
by the hands of Dan Carradine, the Uncle Ben's killer. And then the whole story with Norman Osborn, with Green Goblin, and seeing how that villain is a fantastic villain for Spider-Man to fight in this movie, connecting him kind of with the parallels of Spider-Man. Spider-Man knows the lesson of with great power comes great responsibility. Green Goblin has with great power comes great, like just more power, just evil. And that he goes on a rampage pretty much throughout New York City, which is a great dynamic that was played with during that movie.
Yes. I am actually a huge fan of the hero's story in this movie. I think they structured it very well, because this is probably one of my favorite hero's story I've probably ever been told in like any superhero movie, because I love the way they told the hero story in this movie, because I think it is perfect, because we get to know a little bit more about Peter and all that stuff. But like what you said, he learns that with great power comes great responsibility after he was being so selfish with his powers that led to his uncle being killed. But
Exactly.
yeah, I really love the hero story in this movie. And any other thoughts about the hero story in this film?
The way on how they handled the origin, again, is my most favorite part of this entire movie.
Yes, definitely I can agree. Because again, me and Evan's favorite superheroes are Spider-Man. So yes, I really love the origin story in this movie. And yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the love interest, Mary Jane. And yes, I know some people really hate Kristen Dunst, Mary Jane, because of how she keeps getting captured every single time in every single film. But we're not going to talk about the other films just yet once we go and review those. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on Kristen Dunst's Mary Jane first.
Exactly. So Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane was a casting choice back at the time where she was actually in a movie called Jumanji, and then the producers and director of Spider-Man decided that she would be a good fit for Mary Jane as like the young high school, popular girl at high school and like girl next door type of vibe. And I think even though a lot of people do not like Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane, and they call her the Princess Peach of Mary Jane's, where she always got kidnapped by a Spider-Man villain like Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Venom, and she was always used as a ploy to get out Spider-Man, like Spider-Man to fight. I still liked her performance nonetheless, especially out of all the movies, this one specifically, because she was in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3, and Spider-Man 3, she got a bit not as what I envisioned Mary Jane as. She wasn't appealing to me. In the third movie, second movie, same thing. She was kind of okay in that movie, Spider-Man 2, but in my opinion, I think the first film is, a great Mary Jane, because again, she is the only Mary Jane that we have had so far in a Spider-Man movie, because we would have had Shailene Woodley in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, but that didn't work out because of all the editing problems and all that. But as a forefronting main character just in a Spider-Man movie, Kristen Dunst is the only Mary Jane that we've ever had in the movies, and for what she did in those movies, I have to give her props, because it could not have been an easy role to do, and I think she did a pretty good job of what she did in those movies, specifically this first one.
So you like Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane? It's okay if you say yes or no, because I'm not going to hate or anything.
I do like her as Mary Jane.
And, okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk about my thoughts on her performance as Mary Jane. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and please don't start hating me or start cursing at me, in fact, when I say this, but I actually like Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane, because I thought, just in my opinion, guys, again, don't start hating me after watching this, but I really liked her performance as Mary Jane. And like what you said, she may have been a bit off in the other movies, but I thought she was really good in this movie, and I guess the second movie as well, because we actually, I don't want to talk about the second movie yet, so we'll save that for the review of the second film, because we're gonna be reviewing all the Spider-Man films to get ready for Homecoming. But I really liked her performance in this movie, and I thought she nailed the character perfectly in this film. Just in my opinion, guys. But please don't start hating us that we like her. And I do understand if people don't like her as Mary Jane because of how she keeps getting kidnapped. And again, like how she is the Princess Peach of Spider-Man. But that's just my opinion because I grew up watching this movie and I watched all of the Sam Raimi films so many times that I almost got them all memorized in my head.
I agree too. Yeah, I do like her as Mary Jane. You know, of course, Emma Stone beats Kristen Dunst 10 times over as Gwen Stacy, and I think Emma Stone could have been either or. She could have been Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane, but we just thought her as Gwen Stacy, and she was still awesome in that role. And Kristen Dunst, for what she did as Mary Jane, I respect her for what she did. It couldn't have been an easy task. I did like her as a character, and I do like her as Mary Jane overall.
Yeah, I actually think she kind of looks like Mary Jane, just in my opinion, guys.
I do too, especially in the beginning of the first one.
Yes, definitely.
She very looks like the young Mary Jane from the high school comic that we all know and love.
Yes. Before we talk about the villain story and some of the other characters, I just have to mention this because this is something I really love about the film, and I'm sure this is something you also really love about the movie. And I'm probably going to have people commenting on them disagreeing on what I'm about to say, but I just have to say that, and I don't care if anyone disagrees with me, but I think you would probably agree with me on this, but this music in this movie by Danny Elfman is a masterpiece.
Exactly. Yep. Which sadly, right now, Spider-Man Homecoming, at the time of this recording, Spider-Man Homecoming is not released yet, so we don't know what the full soundtrack of the movie is going to be. But if you guys saw, Michael Giacchino, the composer of that movie, just put out like a 30-second preview of what the main theme of the movie, the soundtrack of the movie is going to be for Spider-Man main theme. And it is an orchestral version of the 1960s Spider-Man cartoon, which is very cool.
Yes.
But for me, in my opinion, it is a cool theme, but it is nowhere near impactful like Danny Elfman's theme was for Spider-Man, with his amazingly passionate and just overall gratuitously awesome, beautiful score that he put for that theme that he made for Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man was just amazing overall.
Yes. And just in my opinion, guys, I think it's the best superhero soundtrack I've ever heard in any other superhero film.
Agreed.
So, shall we talk about the villain story next, or shall we talk about some of the other characters? Like Harry Osborn, and if they did well.
I would say the side characters are good to talk about, with
Yes.
flat out go is Harry Osborn is Harry Osborn. People say that Kristen Dunst was not a good Mary Jane.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I get that people say that Kristen Dunst is not a good Mary Jane, and I respect that, but you cannot say that James Franco was a bad Harry Osborn. James Franco, to me, is Harry Osborn. I think
Yes.
he did a fantastic job as Harry, as Peter's friend, and, you know, right now we have Tom Holland as Spider-Man, we had Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, and then we also had Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. For me, I still can't choose who my favorite one is, because to me, I think Tobey Maguire is Peter Parker, at least, is a really good Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield is a really good Spider-Man, and then I think Tom Holland is a good mix of the two. So I think Tom Holland is a really good Peter and a good Spider-Man. But for me, given how we've only had Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn in The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and mainly, though, with James Franco as Harry Osborn in the Sam Raimi movies, that, for me, is Harry Osborn. He did a perfect job of encapsulating exactly who Harry is in the comics and putting that on the screen. I still think that Harry Osborn is James Franco's best role he's ever had in a movie. There's also been some other cool ones like Harvey Milk. I think that was him as Harvey Milk, or something else. But he's been in a couple other really good movies, like the 127 Hours. But for me, personally, I think he did a fantastic job as Harry Osborn in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
I really loved James Franco as Harry Osborn in this movie. I felt like he actually brought the character to life. Like, if he was actually really this character, because of the whole revelation. Actually, we should save that for the other movies, 'cause I don't want to get into those yet, but he did a really good job as the character, and he nailed it in this movie.
Agreed.
So, let's go ahead and talk about the most exciting thing about this movie, the villain story.
Yep. Willem Dafoe is Norman Osborn. Flat out. I do not care what anyone says. Alfred Molina, to me, is Doc Ock as well. I think he is Doc Ock to a T. I think he did that role perfectly. I also do like Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman. He was okay. I do like what they were trying to do and make him more connected of a character, make him like a dad. I do like that turn. I think he did a really good job as well. Topher Grace, a lot of people don't like him as Venom, which I totally understand. I didn't really like him as Venom either. But as Eddie Brock, I think he was okay. He wasn't what I expect of an Eddie Brock, but for what he was given, what the material he had, he did an okay job. But to me, flat out, the best villain of all the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies has to be Willem Dafoe as Norman Osborn, also known as the Green Goblin. He did a perfect job in every single aspect, from being a sadistic psychopath to kind of a twisted businessman to just kind of a absent dad. He just did every single possible aspect of that character perfectly. And then he died in the movie. But then luckily he was brought back in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 as like little brief cameos, which I love. And I love that they did that. But to me, this was his movie. Same thing with I am excited for Spider-Man Homecoming, and Tom Holland is a really good choice for Spider-Man. But I don't know why I'm not really looking forward to it as much as I thought I would. I mean, the only thing that I'm really excited for Spider-Man Homecoming is to see Michael Keaton's performance as the Vulture. Like No Punisher and I were talking about, we believe that No Punisher and I both said that Michael Keaton as Vulture will fix the villain problem within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just because of how awesome and terrifying the Vulture is going to be. Hopefully he doesn't die in the movie. That would be upsetting. But in regards to these movies, the Sam Raimi movies, Willem Dafoe is the perfect choice as a villain as Green Goblin.
Yes, I think Green Goblin definitely deserves, or even Willem Dafoe, in fact, deserves a Film of the Year, award or something, because he nailed it as Green Goblin. In fact, I think he's perfect, and I think some people may not like his suit, but he's definitely perfect as Green Goblin. In fact, I actually think he could become a great Joker as well, because we haven't seen him as the Joker yet. Because if he is a great Green Goblin, a menacing character like him, then I bet he can be a great Joker as well.
Agreed.
Any other thoughts on the villain story?
I think that about covers it in regards to the main villain of Spider-Man 1.
Yep. Let's see. We talked about the origin story, the hero story, love interest, some of the supporting characters in the film, and the villain story. Any other thoughts before we go ahead and give our final ratings?
I think that about covers it.
Yep. So I guess we can go. Oh wait, I think there's something I wanted to say. I can't remember it, but I think we're gonna go ahead and give our final ratings for this movie. So let's go ahead and get into our final verdicts for Spider-Man 1, the first ever Spider-Man movie ever made. And Evan, would you like to do the honors and give your final rating first?
Sure, no, Punisher. Thank you so much. Well, like I said, this is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, and just my favorite performance out of the Sam Raimi movies as well. Out of all the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies, but also in general of the Spider-Man movie from the Sam Raimi movies, the Mark Webb movies with the Amazing Spider-Man movies, and now with upcoming Spider-Man Homecoming, still Spider-Man 1 reigns supreme as my all-time favorite Spider-Man movie. And again, the action was fantastic. The way that they made the villain menacing and the way that they acted out just in their performances and their roles brought all the comic book characters to life. So again, I do not like giving half scores. I do like 9.5s, 8.5s. I do not like doing that. So as a whole, I give it a solid 9 out of 10. The only reason why it doesn't get a 10 is because I wish that certain scenes with Harry and Peter were a bit longer. Because of how Kristen Dunst as Mary Jane was the forefront of the story, which I totally get, and then Harry's story was expanded in the other movies as well. But James Franco's Harry Osborn was just too good to pass up. And also, Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn was also just too good to pass up as well. So I just wish there was a bit more time with those characters.
Man.
But overall, this movie is my childhood. I love this movie to death, and this is my favorite Spider-Man movie ever.
Man, also I want to mention the web swinging in this movie because back then CGI wasn't that good, and you may be wondering why the web lines on the suit are a bit risen up. Well, that's because so then they didn't make it look like it was CG or something, and just the real reason why they had the web lines on a suit risen up was so then because if they didn't have it risen up when you would see Spider-Man swinging, he would just look like he has a red and blue suit, and you wouldn't see the web lines at all. So that's why they had it like a bit up.
Yeah.
And I'm actually really surprised that you gave this movie a 9 out of 10. Because when we were trying the review the first time, you gave it like a 10 out of 10.
I know, and I rewatched it since the time we did the first review, and I love it so much, and I still do. This is my favorite Spider-Man movie of all time, but still, I just wish we had a couple more scenes with Willem Dafoe and James Franco, because they're just so good in this movie, and I wish they had a bit more time. But again, this doesn't mean that I dislike the movie anymore. I love it even more now. It's just that I just wish, after seeing how talented James Franco and Willem Dafoe were in this movie, I wish they had more time to expand on their characters.
Yes. And dang it, what was I gonna say? Yeah, that's it. 10 out of 10 for sorry, not 10 out of 10. 9 out of 10 for Evan Filarca. Who knows, maybe if they actually made an extended cut for the first film, it would make it a lot more better and right scores. But I'm gonna go ahead and give my final verdict for Spider-Man 1. So for my final verdict, this is a bit tricky because I don't know whether I should give it a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 because I'm kind of it's so hard to choose because this is like one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. One part is one part of me is really telling me to give it a 9 out of 10, but I feel like I really want to give it a 10 out of 10. And I don't know what to choose.
It's very hard. Do not let my vote affect yours. If you want to give it a 10, totally give it a 10. But I was just saying for me that I love this movie so much, but it's just so good that I wish we had more of it. That's why I give it 9. I still love it so much, but I just want so much more of it because it's just that good.
I think I may have thought of my final rating for this movie. So, for my final verdict for Spider-Man 1, the first ever Spider-Man movie ever made. I think I am going to give this movie a 10 out of 10 because I love it so much. I would give it a 9 out of 10, but just because of how well written this movie was, I'm giving it 10 out of 10.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, I guess that's it for the review.
You bet. I think we covered everything.
Yep. That pretty much wraps it all up, guys. That's pretty much it for the review for the first Spider-Man movie. Stay tuned for the next video because we might actually review the second Spider-Man movie on the same day we do the first review. So stay tuned for that. And have any last words before we end this video?
I just want to say thank you so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Please go follow him on Twitter. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He deserves all the support in the world. And this video would not be possible without his dedication to it. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching.
Yes, and also before I go ahead and end it, please, everyone, do me a huge favor after watching this review, and please go and subscribe to Evan Filarca. He deserves your attention. He's got, like, the best Spider-Man-related videos I've ever seen, because whenever I watched some of his first ever Spider-Man PS4 videos, it got me really interested, because there was something about his Spider-Man PS4 videos that was different about the other ones that came out, because other Spider-Man PS4 videos was like, oh, it's a new Spider-Man game, but his videos talking about the game was a lot more different. And if it wasn't for this guy, my channel would probably not exist. So please go and subscribe to him on YouTube, and please go follow him on Twitter as well. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please give it a like, subscribe, and subscribe to Evan Filarca. I'll put a link to his channel and Twitter in the description down below, so then you can go subscribe to him and follow him on Twitter. But thank you all so much for watching, guys, and peace out, true believers, and have a spectacular day, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.